All right, hey everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to the WTCF podcast. It's Charlie here hanging out at work. So that's why the shirt looks a little bit different. And just wanted to go ahead and walk through the intention for the week. So this week, the focus has been, we suffer more in our imagination than we do in reality. And I might have spoken about this kind of stuff in the past, but I think it's really important to reintroduce yourself to these kinds of things on a regular basis and kind of recognize that sometimes things just aren't going to pan out for you. And instead of harping on the fact of like, hey, this thing didn't go my way and I'm going to be really upset and bothered by all it, there's only going to be like one reality of it. So when we let our mind start to wander around about like all the other things that could potentially happen, um, sometimes it can become very overwhelming and we start to not make the best decisions that we can. So the idea would then be to like kind of recognize things are just the way they are. If it's something within your control, then go ahead and try to handle that appropriately for yourself. If not, if it's not in your control, who cares? We're not going to be able to control things like the weather. So if it's a rainy day, nothing we can really do about it. I don't need to be upset that it's a rainy day. So just want to give a couple of tips as I've been kind of thinking through it, and hopefully this kind of helps you out. Is for one is to practice mindfulness, like go about your day without judgment or attachment to your thoughts. A thought's just a thought. And at the end of a song by Hobson, I think it's called Alone. um, I think it's called that. I'd have to go look it up. But it's a Hobson song. It does have Alone with Me or Alone with You or something like that. And a lot of the song has to do with him dealing with his mind telling him a bunch of things that aren't true, him basically reaching into like the negative parts of his head and allowing those thoughts to spiral, whether it be, something about, not taking care of yourself in the best manner or like, again, removing yourself from the board. But at the end of it, there's a guy, Sad Guru, who shows up at the end, not as part of the track, but they just kind of like cut to it. And he's like, a thought's just a thought. So it's going to be fine. So again, just practicing some mindfulness with it. So what I used to think about is, we can handle our situations to the best we can. And the story that I like to tell about this one is, some things are in control, some things are not in your control. So when I was younger, I would go out and I'd stay out pretty late going to a pool hall out in, it was Wooddale. And I'd spend, pretty late nights there. And I still had a curfew. I had turned 18, but yeah, fine, right? My parents still wanted me to be back around the house. So I'd go ahead and I'd have to call and let them know. And what I'd end up doing is I'd end up calling, wake them up. They get upset, they yell at me, and then they'd wake up. Then they yell at me again. So my dad one day went ahead and said, if you're gonna be late like that late, don't bother calling. Just get home, get yelled at once. So again, instead of me obsessing over it, getting onto the phone and getting yelled at and thinking through all of that, just go home, take what you're gonna get, and that's gonna be perfectly fine. Again, I already kind of made the decision that I was going to be out. I had to own that decision, and then to challenge negative thoughts. So back to that Hobson song, just again looking at some of these self doubts that we can find within ourselves, just this imposter syndrome that we can locate within ourselves, and start to challenge these things through a more like realistic viewpoint. Instead of looking at things as positive or negative, things just are. And it doesn't mean a thought's good or bad. It's a thought. It's perfectly fine to have that. So, um, case in point, for the YouTube channel Grundis Yoga Lift, the other one that I run, there's 81 people that follow it. So, right, so 81 subscribers, and you would think it's an unmitigated failure. How do you only have that many subscribers? Right? It's fine. I look at it and go, if 80 people came up to me throughout my life and said that I was helpful and they want to follow what I was working on or any of that, it'd make my entire day. Like it would make whatever time frame that took. So we kind of overanalyze some of those things and think, well, I'm not up to other people's standards, so I must not be good enough. So just to test that. So like even for we the collective, the gym, I still found it incredibly strange that there's 460 people who request the newsletter. If all 460 of those people signed up for membership, I probably wouldn't need my full time job. But again, that's not reality. But people are going to go ahead and watch for the things that you're doing, and going to go ahead and, again, I'm not going to get everybody all at once. The idea is to grow little by little. And again, if 400 people came up to me and said, "Hey, I appreciate what you send out every month," it would change my life. So just thinking that, some people go ahead and read it. You don't need a million people to go ahead and read something. Like, honestly, if you just had a couple of people who actually really cared, and actually really wanted good things for you, that's incredible. If someone's like, "Hey, I want to support you, I want to do," yes, a couple people would be incredible. So instead of harping on like negative thoughts of like maybe you're not good enough, keep trying. You might just be at the beginning stages of it. So what you're going to go ahead and do in that one is just continue to seek evidence that you're trying to do the right thing. Like, recognize that you're trying to make progress, and then practice gratitude along the way, and just be really excited that anything has moved you forward. So the next time we start to kind of let our thoughts get the best of us, and we recognize that our imagination is kind of spiraling a little bit and we're feeling overwhelmed, understand there's only going to be one reality at the end of the day. And how we react to things is what people are going to remember. So all these other events that happen within our heads, every conversation that you went ahead and had before you had it, very rarely does that conversation go exactly sentence for sentence, right? We expect these kind of responses back. And how often are we wrong about that person's response? How often do we have it misunderstood? So the idea would then be to continue to work your way through it, recognize what's in your control, what's not in your control, and always just try to do your best. And on that note, good luck.